Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of our Join the Nightmare series. In episode 1, we created a new account, walked through the tutorial, and explained all the different things you can do within the client. For episode 2, we're going to get into our first game. So we're going to use the Sunken City Starter deck, and I'll walk you through a in-depth tutorial on the strategy behind this deck, some of the different mechanics within the game, and we'll just show some of the gameplay as you're getting started in your Nightmares journey. All right, so we get the opportunity at the beginning of the game to do a mulligan. So you'll start with a hand of 5 cards, but you get to send up to 2 of them back and redraw. You can choose to keep the opening hand, that's perfectly reasonable as well, or you can send some back. So I don't think we want to start with a 5-cost card, and we're going to send this Necro Shield back as well. Okay, well, that's what we get for sending it back. We ended up with 2 of them. Alright, so the whole purpose of our deck is to use effects like this Rogue Deep one, which places the top 3 cards of our deck into the graveyard, and then we get to put a copy of one of those on our deck, or on top of our deck. But again, the whole goal of the deck is to get cards into our graveyard, and then we have a whole bunch of powerful effects that trigger based off of the number of creatures and sometimes just cards, but mostly creatures that we have in our graveyard. So we don't have any 1-cost cards, so we're going to pass the turn. Something of note, we're playing the Sunken City Realm. That's the blue cards. Our opponent also playing the Sunken City Realm. They're actually playing a strategy pretty similar to ours, but we'll see if we can come out on top. So let's see what they opened up with. So they started with a Necro Devourer, which is a 1-cost 1/2. Of note, its summon effect is if they have 5 or more creatures in their graveyard, it gets +3/+1 and comes in as a 4/3. So 1 mana 4/3 later in the game, super powerful. So we're going to go Rogue Deep one, and would you look, there's a Necro Devourer. And I think we probably want to take that. Necromaniac is a good source of AoE damage. It's a 4-cost 3/3, and if there are 3 or more creatures in the graveyard, deal 3 to all creatures and players. It's a good way to wipe the opponent's board. But I don't think we're worried about that at the moment. I think we'll take the Necro Devourer. So all 3 went into our graveyard, but Necro Devourer was placed, a copy of that Necro Devourer was placed on top of our deck. So we know we're going to draw that next turn. Yeah, and that's it. So we'll end our turn. Okay, they also play a Rogue Deep one. Alright, so they're attacking with the 1/2. Typically, we wouldn't want to give up a 3/1 into a 1/2 because, that seems like a disadvantaged trade for us, but we want to get creatures in our graveyard because we know our Necro Devourer is coming. So we're actually going to take that trade. That gets a 4th creature into our graveyard, which is great. We draw the Necro Devourer. We knew that was happening. Alright, we have 3 mana to play with, so we have a couple different options. We have Plague Cultist, which is a 3 mana 6/3, very good stats, and we have to discard a card on summoning him, but that's not a problem because, again, we're trying to get creatures into our graveyard. And then we have Foresight, which just lets us draw 2 cards. I think we want to get the 6/3 down. And we need to discard... we're just going to discard this Sacrificial Knowledge since we have 2 of them. And we're out of mana, and none of our creatures can attack, so we will pass. Yep, our opponent is playing a very similar strategy, so they have a 6/3 down as well. I think we're actually going to take this block, because that gets the 5th creature into our graveyard, which turns our Necro Devourer on. And we avoid taking damage. And this is a good draw. Okay, so here's where we start swinging the board back. So this is a 3-mana 6/6, crazy stats. But at the beginning of each of our turns, we have to either discard a card or sacrifice this. But for now, it's a great way to counter this. And then we have our 1-mana 4/3. See, he triggered. So we end up with 4/3 in stats, which is really powerful. So we have a good board right now. Okay. Now here's the question. We can give up the 4/3, which keeps our 6/6 alive, but then we have to discard to it, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So we're going to trade the 6/6 in. That keeps our 4/3. It gets another creature in our graveyard, which is great, but we don't have to sacrifice the beginning of our turn. And now we can play Sacrificial Knowledge. So this is our curse. And at the start of each of our turns, once this is in play, we will summon a cultist with stats equal to our remaining sanity. So next turn, we'll have 6 sanity, so we'll summon a 6/6 cultist. So it's just incremental value every turn, which is great. A lot of times it's hard to be able to squeeze that in if your opponent's applying pressure. And it's essentially pay 5 mana, take the turn off, right? Because it doesn't do anything immediately. But we're in a good position there because our opponent doesn't have anything that's really threatening us at the moment. So it gives us the opportunity to get this down. And then over the course of the game, it will be a lot of value for us. Okay, so they played their AoE card we were talking about earlier, which is fine. And they got a 4/3 down. But we got a 7/7. I forgot this triggers before sanity lowers, so that's really great. We got a 7/7 this turn. We'll get a 6/6 next turn, all of which is very powerful. So I think we'll start by drawing some cards. Okay, so Thonian Betrayer, this just puts the top 3 cards of our deck in our graveyard. Not really dying to do that at the moment. We already have a lot in our graveyard, enough to activate most of our abilities. And then we can't afford to play it, but Necro Support summons a random creature from our graveyard, which can be very powerful. Excuse me. Because, like we said earlier, their summon effects will trigger, which is crazy. But I think we're just going to go with this Necro Shield. If we have 3 or more creatures in our graveyard, gain 3 life. So we'll heal back up to 20, which is great. And we don't have anything that can attack, so we will pass the turn. At the moment, we're ahead. Okay, they play a Betrayer. They're drawing some cards as well. Okay, they swing with the 4/3. Yeah, we'll block with our 7/7. Kills theirs. Okay, we got our 6/6. So again, we're starting to build incremental advantage here, which is great. Alright, so we'll start again by drawing some cards. Oh, that's a good pickup. Okay, so we're going to play Plague Cultist. We'll discard this Betrayer, and then we'll drop a 4/3 for 1. Very powerful. And we'll swing with our 7/3. They block with their 1/1. Okay. So we've built quite a bit of board advantage now. We can swing for a very powerful attack next turn as long as they don't have a way to wipe our board. That doesn't do it. Oh, okay. Deep Wind Swarm lets them destroy one of our creatures. So they picked the strongest one, our 7 attack guy. They're swinging with a 3/3. Yeah, we'll just block with a 0/3. Get him off the board. Okay, summons us a 5/5, which is great. Okay, we drew our own Deep Wind Swarm. Okay, we're in the last 4 turns of the game. Notably, once sanity hits 0, even if nobody's life has hit 0 yet, the game is over, and whoever has more life wins at that point. Okay, so this lets us destroy one of their creatures, which is great. we will destroy this 3/3. It's the most threatening. We'll draw some more cards. I'm trying to find a Cthulhu. I haven't found him yet. And then we'll swing with our board. Go ahead and clear their board. Okay. So again, as long as they can't wipe our board here, they don't have a lot of cards, so we should be able to swing in for quite a good amount of damage next turn. Yep, so they just play their 6/3. We're not too worried about that. Okay. Yeah, again, the incremental damage from, or incremental value rather, from these cultists is very strong. Okay, we're going to swing in with everybody. Should be a lot of damage. 11, put them down to 6. I don't think there's a lot they could play. Oh, that is the one card they could play. Towering Deep One allows them to completely wipe the board, which is unfortunate for us. Now we're in danger of them drawing into Cthulhu because we haven't found ours. So this deals damage to every other creature equal to the amount of creatures in your graveyard. So at a point in the game like this, where you have a ton of creatures in your graveyard, it's pretty much guaranteed to wipe the board. Alright, we'll start with Rogue Deep One. Still no Cthulhu. We'll take more removal, right? We're going to remove this guy. And then we'll play this Plague Cultist, get rid of the Betrayer, and pass the turn. Alright, so if they draw Cthulhu here, we're in trouble, but anything else, I think we're okay. Oh, they may have actually run out of cards. Yeah, so it's another thing. Yep, they ran out of cards, so this victory is going to go to us. One thing of note within Nightmares is when you run out of cards, game doesn't end. You just don't have any more cards. I know in some games like Magic the Gathering, for example, when your deck's empty and you go to draw, you lose. Not the case here. You just, you only have what's left in your hand and on your board. Other than that, you're out of resources. But this is more than enough for lethal. So we will win our first game. All right, so we climbed up our first rung of the ladder. There's 5 different stages that you'll make it through. You'll see that this picture in the back will change. We're following a character who's slowly descending into madness as we climb the ladder. And then the final stage of the ladder is just called Madness. And instead of the stars that you're trying, or skulls rather, that you're trying to fill, it will just be a number, and that number will be your rank on the overall leaderboard. And as you win and lose games, obviously that changes. Also, for winning the game, we got 25 gems. So in regular play, every time you win, you'll get additional gems. And when you lose, you don't lose any gems, you just don't gain any. You will gain skulls as you win, and you'll lose them as you lose. All right, so that was our first game of Nightmares. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 2 of our Join the Nightmare series. In the next episode, we'll look at maybe purchasing a Precon, buying some booster packs. We'll play some more games, maybe tweak our deck strategy a little bit. And then down the line, we'll start maybe looking at campaign mode, which is also a ton of fun. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.